RCB captain Smriti Mandana bats for the Sports Forward Nation. The Sports Forward Nation reports outline 4 pillars for the growth of Indian sports ecosystem: commerce, technology, performance, social impact. RCB further strengthens intent to actively contribute to India's sports development initiative. Bengaluru, 3rd February 2025. What are the key challenges in Indian sports development? While we have seen growing intent to take sports to the center stage in India's progress, a consolidated system driven approaches can further guide the intent. This understanding leads to the development of benchmark report titled Sports Forward Nation. The Royal Challengers Bangalore and the Sports and Society Accelerator have curated this report with the intent to structure key drivers to fuel India's sports ambition.
Powered by leaders and identifies 4 critical pillars for building a thriving sports ecosystem: commerce, technology, performance, and societal impact. For Indian sports to truly thrive, we must inspire individuals to move beyond passive viewership and instead actively participate.
From the policy,
played with your brother a little bit in early ages.
For the delay, we got stuck, but nevertheless, we'll make it with your presence and world of sports. And it's about time we thought to discuss how India can move forward to become a sports forward nation. And we'll begin by playing a small video to set the stage for discussion. So, video please.
That sparked a light in RCB, and we started to figure out what we can do. So if you look at sports sector in developed countries, in UK, it contributes around 9900 billion in direct economic output. So it is big, massive. And if you look at, if you break that down, sports related activity, which gives around 53.6 billion. When direct employment wages 34.8 billion, and every $1 invested gives a multiplier effect of 55 pence. So if you see in total how sports contributes to a nation is massive. But in India it's very negligible, it's very small. That's when we came to it and thought, what can we do? If India has to move forward, sports in India has to move forward. Contribution from sports has to increase in multiple fields, and we looked at what we can do, and hence we came back with a vision of this, which is a dialogue, which is a governance piece, and acting as a mirror saying that what is required in these 4 pillars for India to move forward. And hence this report, we go in detail, this report talks about that in particular, saying what is required for India to move forward. And with that vision, we came up with the first RCB Innovation Lab Summit in the month of November last year, where we had different experts from different fields within India and outside India. Divya spoke about from an AB saying that what sports can do to India. If you look at India, there is one big piece which is elite sports, and that's critical to move India, and we will do multiple things in that to our initiative and different companies' initiative. Apart from that, what can sports do? Physical well-being, and we all know how sports can impact physical well-being of individuals. If you look at India, the population is young, and by 2036, 2037, this population will start aging. But then how can this population by now can contribute to this journey of development in India? So one is that, how can this population be physically active, and what is required to be done? And if we all know how sports can impact mental well-being too. Every sports person, every individual who is active is mentally fit too. Third one is, there are clear evidences to prove saying that how sports can impact the leadership style. cognitive benefit, and how sports in general can push that individuals forward, soft skills and stuff like that. The third importance is the society and community development. We all know India is amalgamation of different communities, and there are different inequalities everywhere. But if you bring sports, everybody under the umbrella of sports, there is equality there in everything what we do. And you can see from an WPL and IPL point of view, how WPL has inspired millions of women in India to participate in sports. The viewership has grown up, the commerce has grown up. So sports can bring multiple divides and collapse the divides and bring everybody together. Yeah, the not just infra piece, the development piece, the skill piece, the allied industry piece, it can easily contribute substantial amount to the GDP of India. Now what are
and the advocacy for a much more considered approach to building a sports ecosystem. There are many different aspects to an ecosystem: the sports industry, sports development, the role of governments, it could be the union government or state governments, the role of federations. And our provocation really here was, how do we bring this all together? So when you play as a team, I think there are many more aspects that one can achieve. And here this 10-step roadmap is a considered view. The team at RCB, we partnered with them on the summit. The summit held in November 2023 was a very interesting starting point to many of the discussions, some of which you saw in the video. There's another summit coming up in a few weeks where we continue the conversation. But the provocation given to us by RCB was, how do we get moving and move these discussions into the mainstream of discussion? Because in many ways, sport is on the margins of lots of our different activities. It's part of entertainment, it's things that we do on the side of our core lives like education and work. But somehow it never makes it into the mainstream of our daily lives. And the Sports Forward Nation report is a provocation, like I said, to start thinking about sport as central to our lives, in our everyday, weaving it into what we consider ourselves as a nation, and to take forward what a nation can be using the tremendous power of sport and all of its dimensions. It could be economic dimensions, social dimensions, cultural dimensions. And I think we have a long way to go on many of these aspects, but in that long way to go is lots of opportunity. And when we say Sports Forward Nation, we want to move forward, and there is a roadmap which in some sense is a 10-step thought process of all of the various things. Each policy, we talk about regulatory landscapes where the government moves a little bit away from a very strong implementation mode, but road bumps along the way. So how do we actually move forward effectively using technology as we get our talent pathways moving? I like to see talent pathways as a little bit of a ladder. And our responsibility as a system is to make sure there are different rungs of the ladder, where if there's talent, the progression of that talent almost becomes inevitable. But
and then as discussed, as I mentioned during my initial address, the objective was how can RCB contribute to the biggest purpose of moving sports in India, because the impact of sports worldwide is enormous. Right from economic development to social development, and the thought was, how can RCB be a big part of it? When we looked at that, we saw what is the best way to introduce ourselves into this purpose, the softer aspect, and push that agenda forward. And that was the thought of
and I think one of the things to get into a little bit more deeply is this fan engagement aspect and the use particularly of technology. I mean, if you look around, most recently RCB was #1 ranked also on engagement and on social media. What has driven that? What's the thought process, and what can in many ways other sports learn from the experiences and learnings you had at RCB?
I mean, I will cite one example. If you look at badminton, there are a lot of badminton academies floating around, where the kids play, parents play, and when the kids are playing, the parents want to watch them, or grandparents want to watch them, or the friends want to watch them, but they may not be sitting in the same city. Technology can be enabled where it can.
I think firstly I'll start with whatever I heard. Rajesh and yourself, I think was something really nice to hear. It's always good to see people investing in sport overall in India. So really positive signs for the country. I think as you said, sports forward nation. I think I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, I think when I started, I think whenever we say that nowadays we sound old, but yeah, when I picked up bat and ball, it was more to just do with my brother playing, and it was also encouraging. And for women's cricket, I think in India, I think it's just been a journey from the time we started playing in terms even for the Indian team to having stadiums which were mostly empty to now filling out stadiums wherever we play as an Indian team or with RCB. I think it's just a good, brilliant thing to watch. And I think more importantly, as cricketers or as sports people, sometimes people misconceptualize thinking that we want equal stuff, or I just feel that what we definitely want is equal amount of respect. And I just feel in last 5 years, I think women in sport have definitely been in a place where people know, people appreciate us, criticize us, which is great. I think people are caring about women's sport, they are watching it. So I think it's a journey, and I just feel like more and more investments of this sort and right stakeholders taking right decisions for women's cricket and women's sport, it's only going to lead the way forward.
So Smriti,
I think it's massive. I think I remember doing an interview 3 or 4 years back, and they asked me, what is your ultimate dream? And of course I said, oh, World Cup and all of those things. And then they said something out of, the cricketing field, and I thought to myself, and they said, the ultimate dream would be just passing by the road and watching 2 women's team play a gully cricket match. I think that would be my ultimate dream, because we see that so much. Guys play and all of that. Nowadays you see a lot more women participation in gully cricket as well. We see 2 or 3 girls playing with 10 or 15 boys, but I think the ultimate dream down the line would be just passing by in my car or anywhere, and I'm just watching two women team like playing gully cricket, no professional sport, nothing. They're just enjoying the sport. I think that would be really cool. And as you said, I think the amount of girls or college going girls or school going girls have come up to us in the last 2 or 3 years asking for a photo, or genuinely guys used to come a lot more before. In the last 2 years since the WPL has started, it's all turned that a lot of girls and people who I don't see them that they would be following a lot of sport, they come up to all of us and say that we've looked up to you. And for us actually that feels like one of the wins of our life, that we've actually inspired girls to watch sport or play sport. I think that's something, that's 2 ultimate dreams you would want to do. Yeah, I think the change is massive. I think we used to play Big Bash and 100 even before WPL started, and the only question everyone used to ask that when is WPL coming? And finally that in the last 2 years it has started. You see a massive change. I think WPL has shown the world how women's cricket can sell in a way, because I think what we have seen from the outside, even I'm not talking about playing cricket, but even reading articles about what happened before the WPL had started in terms of the broadcast deals to, the franchises putting in the bid. I was just reading it and I was like, wow, I get to play. So just as an audience, I'm not even talking about playing myself. So definitely I think the conversations have changed massively, and now they all are really excited playing into WPL. They want to do everything what they can to get into a WPL team, which is cool. I think as an Indian sitting there, I'm just feeling like, wow, okay, it's a different sort of interest which they have, and I think as men's IPL has done in India, I'm sure that few years down the line we'll try and see what the WPL can do for the Indian audience as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Smriti.